I know that this isn't normally how this goes. Normally, polls just closed, we'll wait a little while, some will trickle in, we'll take a look at the first two percentages, wonder how fast this thing is gonna be called. No, we don't have any results, but it is already called. ABC News, NBC News, CBS News are all calling that Joe Biden has won the South Carolina primary. So there's that.
All right, guys, we're done.
I'm also getting that on CNN, of course.
I don't see anyone cheering, but.
And also we'll be able to a chance to come and see what Joe Biden may have to say about it. Also the rest of the candidates. So now immediately, 2 minutes in, apparently Joe Biden has won, according to John Iadarola, and CNN and ABC and NBC and MSNBC and Fox and
pretty much all of them are calling it. I assume based on exit polling data, I would assume.
So I guess the surprising part now becomes by how much. Where else the rest of the candidates fall in from 2 through 5? I think it's how much we care about right now. And how that'll affect, as we go into Super Tuesday, the momentum. I did see a headline where Joe Biden said he's gonna win tonight, and it's gonna be the beginning of the comeback, something like that. He's LL Cool J. Don't call it a comeback. He's back. So we'll see. So let's see. I was looking through some of the things CNN had as we're starting off, and if this is accurate, I wonder how this pans into Joe Biden's apparent win. They said healthcare remains the most important issue for Democratic primary voters. 2 in 5 of South Carolina voters in this primary named healthcare as the most important issue. Sure. I think with that being the case, did they take that into account as far as voting for Joe Biden? Like, what is it that I feel like I haven't even heard him really mention much about healthcare, period, in the past few weeks. He did go straight to South Carolina right after, I think, Iowa. Am I right? He skipped New Hampshire altogether to make sure he had his stronghold here. Does that make much sense?
Well, to some extent it does, because Joe Biden was really riding on the coattails of what Obama did. And we talk about Obamacare and how significant that was. And so I think that there are a lot of people in South Carolina that see that as kind of a continuation of legacy. And I think that is what really gets Joe Biden that extra leg up in South Carolina, even though I really don't think he's done too much to tell people what he plans to do other than saying, Obama was my friend.
Well, right, well, but does that work?
Yes, it does.
To a degree, as far as like what he's going to do if he becomes president.
Oh, not at all.
But maybe the way this general public thinks, they think, oh, that's fine, he was there, and now for the future it's gonna be the same, or it's gonna be more of what we didn't get accomplished. I'm not sure.
Issues can be a part of the package that people vote on, but it's not necessarily the entire package. And when you put a lot of resources into one state, we saw this with Pete Buttigieg, who staked all of put all of his chips in on Iowa. It paid dividends for him. And Joe Biden has put all of his chips into South Carolina, as is infamous, and it seems to be paying off for him. When you don't have an organizing effort outside of the states that you're putting all your chips into, that's when it becomes a problem. And that's why Bernie Sanders is having a more widespread success when in this primary contest.
And do you also see, according to Joe Biden's prediction, this is the beginning of the comeback? Like in Super Tuesday, states will then pick up this kind of momentum and see what South Carolina decided and think, oh, I can go that route.
Like Emma said, Biden spent 24 days in South Carolina, over 11 visits. He really invested in it, but to make it a comeback, it's like you still have to do well elsewhere. And I really don't know that he has gained that traction. And I think really Bernie seems to dominate a lot of those spaces. And the thought that Biden can actually leverage that and maybe come back in terms of assuming he does win South Carolina, I think it'll really depend on how much he wins by, and to see whether he can really get the momentum for people to think that he is still in this game.
And a point that John made that I thought was so important is that South Carolina being the 4th primary contest and the one that's closest to Super Tuesday means the momentum that can be gained from winning in South Carolina is not as significant as it would be if you won the first 3 states, because there's only 3 days until Super Tuesday. And that's gonna be the big indicator of who wins and who doesn't.
And so if I could add, I think, look, he obviously needed to win this. First of all, congratulations to him. It's his first primary win
ever
in our lives. And look, he had a good strategy. If this is what he wanted, he did set it up to get that. He locked down important endorsements, including just in this past week. He was able to seemingly skate by controversies that would have sunk other candidates. I mean, in the run up to South Carolina, I mean, not only Sean King's work reporting on his decades of lying about his activities during the civil rights movement, but just yesterday, he finally had to directly retract his claim to have been arrested in South Africa during apartheid, which is an insane claim to make. Especially an insane.
Wasn't asked at the debate, so
exactly,
people
and so
aren't going to know about
probably won't hurt him. But I will say that over the past few weeks, as he's lost the first 3 contests, his numbers overall nationally have gone down, and at almost the same rate, the people believing that he thinks he can beat Donald Trump has also dropped down, which sort of makes sense. If you can't win elections, it's reasonable to think you might not be able to win an election, and so. I don't know how much momentum this produces for him, but it will probably reassure some people that he's not necessarily a massive electoral loser. And it probably won't help him all over the map, but there are a few states like Texas where the gap between Bernie Sanders and Biden is not gigantic. This might be enough to close that or perhaps flip it.
That's some quality analysis from an analyst in a booster seat.
Okay, this is the last time
Loving it.
here.
Emma is definitely going out this week. Make sure she puts
My
it next
flight's tomorrow, and so I'm just pummeling him on my way out.
So actually, John, to answer your question, how potentially this win for Joe Biden can propel him into more momentum. I'm gonna read a little bit of the quote that he did say, of course, before the results came in. We're gonna win South Carolina, and the next step is North Carolina. We do enough, we're gonna win here as well, and then here, maybe back at home as well, and then it's a straight path to the nomination for president of the United States of America. Is that how it usually works? That you guys have seen? Because you win South Carolina, you haven't won any other states. You have absolutely no ground game in states like California, and then you win. Well, he's predicting to win North Carolina as well, and then North Carolina and South Carolina lead you to the path directly to the presidency.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the Carolina.
At least maybe I'm misreading it.
That's a little aggressive.
But you have to spin it, right? And what's fascinating about all of this is how the media is going to react with his win in South Carolina versus Bernie Sanders' 2/3 first wins in the first 3 states. What does that mean? The media is going to have, I think, a more aggressive response about Joe Biden's comeback. And the thing about Biden is he should be encouraging all these other candidates to drop out because his biggest hindrance, despite the fact that he's bungled pretty much his entire presidential run thus far and has forgotten everything and has made absurd claims and his racist past and other questionable legislation has been unearthed. The fact of the matter is that there are so many other candidates that are more ideologically aligned with him that are still in the race, and that's just going to keep chipping away at whatever coalition he could build to stop Bernie Sanders.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.